Wow.
All right, well, we got a recording going. It's 12:30. Good to see everybody that's here. Whoever that is, Love B, all I can see is your eyes and above. Can you dip there? Now we can see you. All right. So those that don't have their cameras on, don't be shy about getting them on there so we can kind of see each other. It kind of puts us a little bit more of an interactive thing that, you know, maybe like they say, makes us not feel like we're so far apart all the time. So I did want to welcome you all to this breakout session for school bus sanitation. Your presenter is Steve Johnson, and he's from Thomas Built Bus. So before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsors for this 2020 conference, the ADEQ, Auto Safety House, Braun Ability, Canyon State Bus Sales, Cummins Engines, REI, RWC Group, and the Trust. Their support for this virtual platform, you know, still lets us stand by our commitment to present student transportation information, you know, and relevant content to all of our members. So it's good to see you all. During this breakout session as attendees, you are muted right now, and we do ask that you try to use your chat box or whatever that is on the bottom to put comments down or questions, and the presenter will kind of keep looking at that and answer and interact with you that way. There's also something, I haven't seen it on there, but raise your hand where you can say, I got something urgent I want to talk about. I think you can unmute and mute, but you know, that way it kind of keeps all that feedback out of there so we can all hear the presentation and kind of communicate with each other. And if there's something that's just a burning question or burning problem that you have that may or may not pertain directly to the meeting that you're on, just go to the TAA website and, you know, put in your comments or questions or concerns there, and someone will get back to you there as well. So I guess without further ado, we'll turn this over to Mr. Steve Johnson about school bus sanitation.
All right, well, welcome, guys. Unfortunately, I can't see in person down there in Arizona. I always look forward to that trip and meeting and greeting with everybody and making some new friends along the way. But this is the next best thing, so I'm really excited that these guys were able to put this together for us today. And what I have is pretty straightforward. I'm sure that, you know, in your schools and your shops and everything, you've been cleaning like crazy, and, you know, like most people, buying alcohol every chance you get it for your home and your cars and everywhere else to try to keep things clean and safe. So I'm just going to go over some of the things that Thomas has put together based on CDC guidelines and working with our manufacturers of the products that go into the bus, the different materials and what we can use and not use to keep the bus clean and safe and not destroy the interior or, you know, induce corrosion and things like that into the bus environment, so we don't damage the surfaces inside. So I'm going to share my screen here and go through this PowerPoint. Get back to the beginning. All right. We got a couple more people jumping in there. I'll wait till they get entered in. All right, now we got everybody in there. So how to disinfect your school bus, you know, with all the corona issues and just other communicable diseases or viruses and things like that that we can pass around to each other. This has really brought it to the forefront where, you know, the flu and things like that, we probably should have been doing this all along a little to some degree, but this has really made it in our face and very, very dangerous. So it's really brought it to light about these processes for, you know, all forms of transportation where we've got groups of people getting together. So in all the services of the school bus, we've been researching that information and just seeing what's been published about COVID-19, some of the products that will get us through taking care of that virus that will actually kill it and not let it spread throughout the school bus or through your schools. So we've been working with the CDC, reading their publications, staying on top of that, trying to make sure that we've got the best information possible that we can share with our customers and vehicle owners. So some of the basic practices are, first and foremost, the chemicals that you can get right now, which that's a difficult project in itself, but also the ones that you do have, definitely follow the instructions that they have there as far as, how to use the product, dilution ratios, and we'll get on that a little bit later down the line, but definitely all the protective gear that you need to have on while you're doing this, because a lot of this stuff is not happy with your, it's not going to make your skin happy, your eyeballs and things like that. Doing your bus one time without gloves, probably not a big deal, but after you do that day after day after day after day, time after time, multiple times a day, it's going to take its toll on your hands and your body, and definitely vapors and so forth. So anything that you can do to protect yourself from those chemicals, you need to follow those guidelines on those products. Especially eye protection, that's going to be one of the biggest things. Is if you're using rags and so forth, you want to be sloshing things around. Ventilation, that's another thing to take in consideration. Exposing yourself to these chemicals, the alcohol or whatever it might be that you're using. You want to make sure that you've got ventilation in the bus or the whatever you might be cleaning in the shop or in the school itself. And in all the rags and so forth that you're using, you guys have always got pretty good supplies in the shops that I see as far as towels that are available, shop towels, shop rags, things like that could be reused or disposable. And definitely because of the materials in the bus, don't make your own batch. Don't make your own special sauce, so to speak, because certain chemicals will react differently with each other and then could create something that could be very hazardous to you and also the vehicle itself. So the surfaces that need to be cleaned, the base of the seats, things like that, top of the seats, make sure that there's nothing on them, before you start to try to disinfect it. So any grease, if the bus has been in the shop, try to make sure the handrails and things like that are clean of grease that's not a disinfectant, but a degreaser that can get rid of some of those things, and make sure there's no dirt and so forth. So you want to try to have it relatively clean before you start to sanitize. Otherwise, it could not get to the surface where it needs to be to take care of the virus. Ready-to-use products are definitely going to be the most advantageous for you from a time factor. So you want to make sure that, if you can purchase those, try to pay attention to that instead of buying concentrated product and so forth that you'll have to mix and worry about diluting it. So if you can just get the ready-to-use, it'll be ready to go right on, and you can apply it right to the surface. So again, you don't want to be leaving any puddles or having this stuff, running onto the floors and so forth. Again, it can be harmful to some of the materials, start causing corrosion and so forth, if you're doing it time after time after time. One of the notes that they had was, from the CDC was quarantine the bus for 48 hours after you've disinfected it. That's going to be tough to do if we're running routes and so forth. So again, you're going to have to work with the manufacturers of the products that you have. And in reading that, earlier last week when I was asked to do this, I started just doing a little bit of homework myself. I've got relatives in the aviation industry. I spent some time there and what they're doing, because they're handling, right now, they're handling more people day to day than anybody as far as transportation, and what they're doing to be able to sanitize the airplane quickly in between flights. And so I just tacked on some of that information of what they're doing at the end. There's some videos. We can watch them, or you can just do it at your own pace when you get a minute, of what the airlines are doing in between flights that I wasn't aware of to disinfect the thing. So 48 hours, it's a long time, but that's letting those chemicals sit on there, and really trying to guarantee that you've got no bacteria or viruses that are going to carry on. So this is where we've gotten some of the information. If you wanted to go and do some more reading, I can provide this to you guys, Ron, after we're done, so you could share it with the group so they could use some of those links. So some of the products are recommended for the metal, the sidewalls and hard surfaces and so forth that are not, non-vinyl, which could be, the flooring, the metal walls, windows, pilasters, and so forth. Isopropyl alcohol is what we've used in aviation for the longest time. It's relatively inexpensive. Right now, it's tough to get, but you want to have it at least 70%. they'll actually have a number on the front of the bottle, or however you're buying it. If you're getting in bulk, which would be great, if you can get it in 5-gallon jugs. I've seen some of the companies be able to get it that way. So you can just use that straight and just wipe it off, and it'll dry, and you don't have to follow up with a secondary process. Denatured alcohol is the next best option. Again, that's readily available in a lot of the paint areas, so a lot of people overlook that product as far as people at home that are somewhat hoarding some of the products that you're trying to get your hands on. And so those two are probably the most widely used and easy to find. Some other products that are ready to use that you don't have to have a follow-up process with, you're fantastic. Formula 409, again, these are antibacterial, so they're labeled that way. Lysol, the Virox, and Oxiver, I guess is how it's pronounced. I'm not familiar with that particular product, but I guess it's a wipe that you can use that is not going to require a secondary process to follow up to remove it. Again, this is going to be on all your hard surfaces. And these also can be used on the plastics. So the Formula 409, these are the things that they're going to recommend for the plastics that are not going to dry it out, where the alcohol will dry it out. It'll take some of the oils out of the plastic and could discolor it over time. Also with the vinyl, same thing. One-time use, not a big deal, but over and over and over, that's going to take its toll on your seats and so forth. So those are some things you're going to want to pay attention to when you're going through the bus and using the right products on the right materials, so that you don't create issues down the road for the interior of the bus. So some of the things that are available out there that are a concentrate, using Metaclean, which is a form of a bleach that you could use on the bus. But with that, you've got to mix it with a water ratio of 10:1, and then you've also got to follow up with a clean water wipe. So this is going to be doubling the work for you. Again, it might be the only thing you have available, and if the bus isn't going right back out, this would be a good process to use. Very inexpensive way to clean the bus, and common bleach as well. Also with a 10:1 ratio to use that, but you have to go back and follow up with clean water to get that bleach off. Otherwise, it's going to really tear up your seats and your plastics and things like that. And you're not going to want to just leave that on there as a one wipe process, like you might on other products that you would and things like that you'd have around the shops or in your own home. Not recommended is using any pure bleach or peroxide, anything like that, because it will definitely take the oils out of those products and discolor them and cause them to dry and crack in a relatively short period of time. So you don't want to use any straight bleach or anything like that. I mean, it'll definitely kill the virus, but not going to be user friendly on your on the surfaces inside of the bus. Again, you don't want to use any type of bleach or any of these diluted products on any of your seat belts and fabrics and things like that, because we don't want to compromise those whatsoever. Ammonia, again, is another product that's not going to be user friendly to the interior of the bus, so that can be a little tough on the vinyl and so forth, and would need to be wiped off with another clean water wipe after the fact if you happen to use that type of a product. So, and also, if you've got Zonar tablets or anything like that in the bus, or touch screens that you're using for checking the kids on or off or navigation or whatnot, you're not going to want to use ammonia-based products on those, because it can damage those screens. So you want to stick with the alcohol and those types of products that they recommended for the interior of the bus on the previous page. Are going to be a lot more user-friendly. We found the alcohol to be probably the most user-friendly and easiest to work with, and the least hazardous to use as the user. So some of the information I found on the aircraft website was what they're doing in between flights. So they're sanitizing the entire aircraft. They're using electrostatic fogging guns, and I thought that would probably be one of the fastest ways we could disinfect the buses in between routes, or in the evening at the end of the day, whatever you guys feel is going to be your best plan of attack, or whatever the school district decides is going to be satisfactory based on CDC guidelines for what they're doing for the schools. And so there's a little video here at the bottom of the page that the Delta talks about what that product is, how they're using it. They've actually got some video on demonstrating it. It's looks pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So this might be a really fast and efficient way for the schools and in the shops to be able to clean the buses. So these were just a few that I found, just doing a quick little bit of research, a couple of the different brands of guns that are out there. The one on the right is what Delta is using. The one on the left is what United is doing. And that EMIST is the one on the left, and that's what United is using for disinfecting their aircraft. So this would be, a very effective and quick way to be able to spray the bus down. Doesn't require a secondary process. And again, it's electrostatic. So like when when we paint our buses, we electrostatically charge the paint so it sticks to the vehicle. So this stuff they're spraying it on the ceilings and walls and windows and screens and everywhere in the bus, and it just fogs it, sticks to it, and takes care of any bacteria or the viruses that are living on the surfaces. And I think that might be a pretty good solution if you've got to do something in between routes or make it efficient for your time. And with this product, one of those guns does about, I want to say it was 4,000 square feet that one batch would do. So I think you got about 900 square feet inside a bus. I had some notes there. So you'd be able to get quite a bit done. Actually, it's about 300 square feet, sorry, inside the bus. It was like 290 plus. So you get a lot of coverage out of one of those guns. So these were some of the locations that we got our information from as far as what's being used out there today, what's working on the virus to take care of it. And just some good links there to do some reading. And I'm sure you guys have been inundated with information and coming from all different directions and different ideas and opinions of what's going to work the best. So pretty straightforward, not an hour's worth of content there for you, but I can share we've actually got a nice little flyer for this that it's just a one-page flyer. I'll share that with you guys. I'll get that emailed over to Ron and also the presentation. So you've got some of those links if you wanted to watch some of those videos. And any questions on that, Ron? Anything you want me to touch on that I might not have covered?
Not that I can think of. I was kind of interested with the electrostatic equipment there, what that would look like and what that would do. But that's going to be in your presentation. You'll be able to send this so we can share it on the TAA site and things like that for people. Good.
If you want, I could click on the link, see if it'll come up. We've got plenty of time. So if you want, I could hop on there and they could kind of show you what they're doing. I'll see if I'll probably have to unshare and reshare. I doubt it'll come up inside the.
Steve, while you're doing that, have you found any, I guess at more of the national level, any, I guess, providers or suppliers that maybe are able to get their hands on product a little bit quicker than others, that as we get closer to returning back to school, we're obviously in need of product. So is there anybody that you're seeing is more capable or has more product than others that you might be able to point us in a direction in a non-biased way?
Not as of yet, as far as anybody that's able to supply the bulk product. We've got through our PDCs through the dealer network, they're able to get some of the masks and so forth from some of the mask manufacturers. They're offering that in bulk, like they would shop towels and rags and gloves and so forth. So they are offering that, but I have yet to see anything on the actual disinfecting products. So that's going to be probably a national search for everybody to try to get their hands on that product in bulk. And I'll make a note of that and get back with you guys to see if I can find something as far as bulk products.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that, even though, the airlines fly and we stay on the road, I think there's a lot of similarities in the way that we move passengers from point A to point B. And so I think it's very useful to kind of see the similarities between how these, multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar companies are still managing to stay working. And how they're loading, I think as everything was still locked down, the states, or the airlines were kind of only moving essential travel and kind of limiting, based on what our recommendations have already been by separating people with spacing rows in between passengers. But now it seems like most of the airlines are starting to just kind of fill them up. And, with the use of these tools like this and requirement of masks, are you seeing anything, or in what you've researched, any anything that would show why we couldn't maybe load a bus, of 35 to 50 kids?
Not really, because friends that I've talked to that have just flown recently, they were wearing masks. Some people were not. And I don't know that that's, I haven't gone on to the Delta site or anything as far as, they didn't make them wear a mask. I mean, I think that should be mandatory myself, just because, everyone at Thomas, you're not allowed in the building without getting your temperature checked and without, having your mask on. We're not allowed to go into the facilities or work out in the shop or anything. So we've got dividers and curtains and doing everything we can to keep our employees safe and disinfecting the buses before they roll out of the shop. And so we're just trying to, make sure our driveway companies are safe, so that we're not transmitting that at all. But they're packing airplanes to the top. Now, one of the unique features that an airplane has that a school bus doesn't is the air rotation. A lot of people think that air just gets circulated and circulated and circulated. It doesn't. It changes. They have 100% air changeover every 3 minutes in a jet. That's how much volume of air is getting pumped in. The engines pump in fresh air through HEPA filters, and it's going through the whole system, and then it's actually expelled out through little vents in the aircraft that bleed out that air. So about every 3 minutes in a normal size 737, that you're getting fresh air, a total change out of the air inside the airplane. So
Got it.
the buses don't have that luxury unless you're driving around with the windows down.
Well, and so, I mean, that kind of brings up another topic as far, obviously here in Arizona, probably a good 80% of school buses do have air conditioning. So has Thomas or anybody that you've seen come out with any guidance on how maybe increased interval changes of how frequently air conditioning filters should be changed? And second part of that question is, has anybody been looking at any type of UV, those UV type devices that are like, kill, I guess, to all forms of viruses and bacteria, that could be installed in like within the air conditioning unit to help sanitize buses that way? Have you guys looked at anything like that?
I didn't touch base with engineering on that prior to, and I apologize that I didn't do that. I can certainly do that. I've been making some notes, so I will, as far as the manufacturer's offering a HEPA filter to help filter the air inside the bus, which would capture that bacteria. Also, a UV lighting system. Like I know that's available for your home to have that type of a product on there to to kill any bacteria in your house that's going through your HVAC system.
Sure.
But I will definitely ask Leslie Kilgore, our head of engineering, if they've been come in contact with any vendors that have brought that up to us or offered it.
Sure. And I'm just looking at some of the comments in here about people wanting. I think they're looking for maybe not necessarily pricing on the devices that the electrostatic devices are. I'll say that most people are having a hard time just finding them in general, just because it seems like every corporate entity is trying to get their hands on something like this. So I know several districts, for those that are listening, have started to revert to like gallon type backpack sprayers and coming up with a real fine misting nozzle and going to different types of solutions that they're testing. I know that Josh Crosby from Higley's been testing several different products on their buses to make sure that the solution that they're using isn't leaving any type of traces of just destroying the vinyl or the floor or the electronics, and just not leaving like running type liquid all over the place. So you want to just try and find whatever is going to find out like a certain type of misting nozzle that's going to provide more of a mist than a rain spray, I guess, so to speak. So but yeah, I'm seeing it. Brian says we have some on order, but vendor cannot give us a delivery date due to increased demand. And that's what we're seeing with everything, right? PPE, masks, gloves, just even Purell sanitation bottle or Purell hand sanitizer. So I think those are the things that we're just trying to run into, because if school starts in 5 weeks, we can't get them here before 5 weeks. What are we we have to come up with how we're going to provide all of the things that we say we're going to provide to our community.
Sure. I know that on the masks, those are, you know, DTNA has secured a vendor for that, so that's available through our dealership through Auto Safety House. That was just a little flyer today that I saw. But as far as the cleaning products or some of the tools, you know, I haven't seen anything on that yet. But I'll definitely dig into that and get back with you guys today, so you could share that with your group. If you want, do you guys see the Delta site? Did that come up?
Yes.
If you want, I can just go through that real quick. It might be.
Not getting any sound from your video.
No volume. I was afraid of that. Yeah, and I'm not sure. I've run into that before on Zoom on how to get the volume to come through for you guys, so you can hear the video.
I would assume that you'd have access, but you know, if not, we can certainly send out the email
Yeah.
with this Delta link. So maybe we just, you know, if you're finished, is there anybody that wants to, you know, we can stop sharing or go back to anybody that just wants to have general discussion on disinfecting school buses or conversation, any questions that you might have for Steve? Nobody?
No.
Wow, you guys are a tough crowd, man.
Yeah. Looks like we're good.
Yeah, sorry that was so brief. You know, just not a lot to cover on that. You know, with it's pretty straightforward as far as how to do it. And
I think we're all just, you know, we're seeing different or looking for different ways, and I think a lot of it is very similar in the approach. I think really what it boils down to is at our level, who's going to be responsible for going out and doing that sanitation? Is it going to be the bus driver's responsibility? Is it going to be the you know, is it going to be the mechanic's responsibility or a trainer's responsibility? I think there's, you know, a lot of those kind of inconsistencies that we haven't tried to really pin down just yet. More or less just because everybody's still trying to figure out what the actual school schedule is going to look like. So then we all kind of fall in place.
So I see here on the chat, there was a question that you'll be posting the PowerPoint, and I would assume that we are on the TAA website for this PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah,
correct?
as long as Steve's willing to share it, we'll certainly post any of the PowerPoints that are provided. We'll also be,
Sure.
we are recording this meeting, so it will be up on YouTube for those that want to go back and watch it. It'll be up there on YouTube as well, probably by the end of the week. So we're doing everything that we can. I see a question here from Carolyn. How important is it to clean under the seats and floors, or mainly just places the students come in contact with? Steve, do you have an answer for that?
you know, due to the fact that it's so they say it's not airborne, I would say that any place that they're going to put their hands, that they could get it on their hands and then get it on their face. So I don't know that wiping underneath the seat is going to be a necessary feature, or on the floor itself. You know, the floor is probably one of the easier things to clean by either mopping it or spraying it and mopping it, or however you're going to do that with some of the products that are available. But, you know, just really focus on what they're touching, where the kids are putting their hands, the windows, you know, if they're opening windows, that type of thing, if they don't have AC on the bus, anything that's going to get it on their hands, where they're going to put their hands in their face, because you know that's that's the root cause of all the evil, is getting it on your hands and then getting it on your face.
And I think that's the, you know, really right there is trying to determine, is that, you know, the protocol that's going to be for people to clean in between each run. So if there's a driver that has 3 schools, are they going to be, you know, responsible to clean quickly those high touch surface areas before they bring the next group of kids on? Or, you know, is it going to be enough that the sprayers can take care of that sanitation piece once they return back to the yard in the morning and in the afternoon after PM runs?
Yeah. So are you guys think, you know, is everybody pretty much requiring the kids to wear masks and so forth? And
Yeah, this, obviously Arizona, for the most part, the state hasn't come out and said masks are going to be required, but um, just about every city is starting to require that. So I think it's taking a lot of the decision making out of the school district hands on whether or not to require. I know about a week and a half ago it was a strong recommendation for masks, and then all of a sudden it's now a requirement for a mask for everybody. So it seems to be that those masks are going to be required on the bus now. The management piece of getting kids to actually do what they're told will be the next fun part, right? And what to do with the kids that can't, our special needs students that can't wear them, or are students with other health, underlying health conditions that for whatever reason can't wear them. Are face shields going to be allowable, or any of that stuff, right? There's still a lot of details to kind of work out.
Yeah, it's it's crazy times for sure. Just everything that's going on, in the country in itself. It's
Absolutely. So I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I just want to share with everybody on the TAA page, so you can, those of you that obviously had to go through here for registration, there is a COVID-19 resources page that we've put together, and we're starting to, we've got a survey running here for districts to respond to how they are responding and starting up their plans for the start back of school. But there's also a responses to the district surveyed, so hopefully everybody can see the spreadsheet. There looks like about 27 districts that have filled this out, that have several responses in there that might be helpful tools for those that are kind of struggling to figure out how and when, and just finding the resources to come up with a plan to return back to school. There is also any questions, just as they come up. If you have questions, you're like, man, I'd really like to know who's doing what. Pop those questions in there. It's just another Google survey that's just capturing information, and we're going to try as TAA to come and do some type of FAQ for everybody, so that it'll be posted here. There's a series of YouTube videos that we've already been doing. We've been having Zoom meetings every Friday since the 5th, with about 25 to 30 different transportation supervisors, directors, and other leaders in Arizona that have all we spent about an hour just doing exactly this, just talking about plans and how they've changed, and who's solving what, and what people are part of, which teams are a part of. So definitely, if you want to find some good information, there's a lot in those YouTube videos. We've got resources page, the CDC guidelines, Department of Ed, our own ADE, the trust considerations that they just released a couple weeks ago, and then supply links. And I'm building this out. So if for those of you that have found resources and want to share those, feel free to email those, and we'll just keep this link going, because I think that there's value in building this list of resources that all of us might be able to tap into, at least for the state of Arizona. So there's some good stuff there that if you want to go poke around, Brian, if you're listening, send me the Protexus electrostatic sprayer information. I'm certainly happy to put that on for everybody. Alrighty. Any other questions? Any just general topics that anybody wants to talk about just around this topic?
No, we're good.
Nope. All right. Well, I guess we're done about 30 minutes early. So
Jason?
you guys, yes, go ahead.
Hi. So I'm seeing that there's a lot of folks that just don't have the means to buy like the the electronic sprayer that so I'm wondering, would you guys recommend maybe using some other type of sprayer? Like, I know Tommy was showing earlier that he was just using a spray bottle, but what about a one of the chemical sprayers for like your lawn, or like a bug sprayer, something like that? like the cheaper style that holds a little bit more chemical, that maybe they can have like stations at a school that has these chemicals on there, so that when the kids do leave, either some member of the staff from the school can come in and spray, or the driver can secure their bus and get out and use that sprayer rather quickly. And then by the time they get to their first stop, hopefully within the next 10 or 15 minutes, would there be a possibility maybe that it would dry? I don't know all the stats on it, but maybe that's an alternative to a cheaper alternative solution.
Sure. Yeah. And, you know, we were just talking a little bit before you joined that Josh over at Higley has been working with this waxy solution, this disinfectant cleaner. So here's the details behind it. And there's actually another chart that shows how effectively it is at killing, you know, any type of viruses that it comes in contact with. So there's that information there. He's been using, I want to say he's just using a gallon, just those typical like Home Depot gallon type sprayers. I know in our previous Let's Talk session earlier this morning, the folks over at Canyon State was saying that they have a different type sprayer that they provide that's very similar to that, but it leaves more of a mist. And I think that's what people need to be after, rather than more of like a rain drizzle, so that it is covering all of those surfaces. Certainly a lot cheaper than what those electromagnetic sprayers are. And I know that Josh was planning to come up with a plan, just like you had said, to have a kind of a sanitation station at each school. So that way when the drivers, after the drivers were done discharging, they would pull up to, you know, basically a table, grab the sprayer, walk onto the bus, do their spray, or they're looking at potentially maybe having a custodian meet them and the custodian come on and do the spraying, so the driver doesn't even have to mess with it. I know at where I'm at, most of our, you know, our custodians, our building managers are going to be already redirected into the campus and working on probably other things that they need to be working on. So to have it done at the school site is definitely going to be probably a driver managed challenge that they need to, you know, that we have to work around.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Jason.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Stephen with Canyon State Bus. I was just saying our service department actually tried the one that's on the screen right now, or, you know, something similar. And it left a lot of water spots all over the upholstery. So I don't know if that's important to people or not, but it can be a perception issue with the students, I suppose.
I would definitely think you wouldn't want it all over your electronics or your dash area either. And so, you know, Josh is he's doing a presentation right now, but I can certainly get with him to try and figure out what type of misting nozzles he's using. They've tried several different ones, and I think they settled on a setup. So we can definitely link that down in the supply links page down here underneath, you know, what exactly they're using and what they've had success with, so that others might be able to take advantage of that. Any other questions that, you know, people might have? None? All right. Well, I think there's about 20 minutes left if you guys want to jump into one of the other two sessions that are going on, if they're still going on. I see the school evacuation piece is still going. So you can jump into that one or the Medicaid one. Otherwise, we will be back for two sessions, either the one for school bus industry updates with Stephanie from the Trust, or ADE School Finance. Monica Paz is going to be talking about transportation reporting. And I think there'll be a lot of information on how we're going to be working on our 80-day reports and our vehicle inventory reports. So that's probably going to be a pretty good one that those of you that cover all the vehicle reporting and state reporting for your school bus fleets you probably want to not miss that. So Other than that, if there's no other questions,
Hey, Jason, just real quick, I tried to get into the Medicaid reporting and the link wasn't working.
right at the beginning,
Yeah,
yeah, right at the beginning, they were having a little issue. They got started about 7 minutes late. So,
okay.
all righty.
Yep, thanks.
Yep, no problem. All right, Steve, I appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me today. Hopefully some of that was beneficial, and I will, where would you like me to email the PowerPoint to?
You can just email to my Kyrene address, and I'll take
Okay.
it from there. All right.
Sounds good. I'll have it to you momentarily. Thank you, guys.
Sounds
I
good.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Ron, thank you.
Thank you.
See you, everybody.
See you guys. Take care. Be safe.